Is everybody ready?
Okay, red means, okay, there's a
I think I'm ready too. Okay, and I think everybody's here. So, I think everybody knows me. I'm Brian. Hi. And I'm here to talk about being a teacher who's moved into a management role unexpectedly for the most part, and how that transitioning, kinds of skills that you can take from your experience as a teacher into that new role. So it's very much an awareness-raising workshop. I've been in my position for about a year. You're going to hear from people who've been in similar positions, management positions, for a lot longer than that. And we're just going to talk a little bit about how the institution, the language learning organization, the school, the college, whatever it is, how it benefits, and how the clients underneath you can benefit. I'm going to let these people come in. Come in. No worries. And also how you, the teacher turned manager, can also benefit from that experience, from being in that role. So we're going to be doing a little bit of me lecturing and a little bit of you guys working together. So should be fun. Everyone's ready?
Yes.
Okay. Good. I just want to point out that there's many different types of management positions. We're going to be talking about one of them, the one that I know. And of course, there's varying degrees of managing that might go on in any given context. So some people continue to teach in their job, and other people have stopped teaching altogether. I do a little bit of both in my context as a tutor and trainer. So I'd like to run through the agenda real quick. We're going to talk a little bit about me and where I'm coming from, my background, and what I'm doing now. Got a little activity for everybody. We're going to talk about teachers, managers, and their different skills. Then I'm going to introduce the people I interviewed, and they're going to talk about some of the challenges that they faced, and I think it's a universal thing. They're going to talk about challenges anyone can expect, as well as the benefits, some of the good things about being a teacher and then being a manager. And then we're going to talk about some takeaways from this lecture, and I'll mention some of my resources and ask for feedback. Good?
Yeah. Great.
All right. Good, okay. Hey, 2007. This is back when I first started teaching. Can you find me? I thought I was one of these Asian people. No. This is when I first started teaching. I taught in a lot of different schools. They bounced me around a couple different prefectures in Japan. So got a lot of experience when I first started. Up front. Just in time. And I continued to work in Japan, but my context changed quite a bit. So at one point I was working for a toy company, another time I was working for basically a weekend school for kids, and it was a lot of fun. This guy was trouble. But everybody else was pretty cool. And then I found myself, and there were of course other positions I held between 2008 and 2011, of course, but I found myself in DC where things got a little more professional. You can tell because I've got a briefcase and a trench coat. And they were sending me off to far-flung offices to teach people, in this case, the Financial Supervisory Service of Korea. So a lot different from the kids' juku. And I don't know what's going on here. I just kind of found myself, where am I? There I am. So found myself teaching online, which is completely different, whole new skill set I had to develop in that context. And I did that for quite a few years, but it was good. It was good stuff. And we're going to talk about why. And then finally, I'm managing. You can tell because look at all the cat pictures. No longer a teacher's office, it's a manager's office. I just got to Northern Virginia Community College just back in July. So again, I found myself in this position, like I said, a little unexpectedly. I wasn't actively looking for this kind of transition. It just kind of fell in my lap. And it was a bit nerve-wracking in the beginning. I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing, if I was moving in the right direction. And a year later, I'm starting to really understand the job, and I hope that I can impart some of that wisdom onto you folks. So, when I applied to this job, why is that funny? When I There are a number of things in the job description that I looked at first and I thought, well, I can't apply to this job. Was expected to market this center that I'm working in now. It's a tutoring center. Market the center and its services to the students of the Northern Virginia Community College. It was a student body I didn't know very much about. And to gather data and feedback from the clients that would come into the center and get tutoring, among other things. Meetings, I had to conduct meetings, hold meetings, attend meetings, give feedback after meetings. There would be a lot of induction training and ongoing training. The people that I hired, I needed to know how to train them. And of course, you know, I was never a teacher trainer, I'm certainly not a tutor trainer, so that was going to be new. Perfect, we fill all the seats. Communication was a really important skill. And you know, as a teacher, I would expect that I would be a good communicator, but you know, this was managing. I kind of wasn't too sure what it would be about. Budgets and grant writing, I knew very little about. I knew nothing about. And of course, hiring and firing staff. It's nothing I'd done before. And I was expected to familiarize myself with the ESL and English department's curriculum so that I could provide those services to the students that came through the door. Looking at these things, I did apply to the job because I did feel there were certain things that I had been doing that would translate well. So thinking about these things, what do you guys think you can take from teaching to do some of these tasks? Some, I think, you can do better than others, but I did feel I could do them all. So what I'm going to do is ask you to talk to a partner. We're going to brainstorm. What about teaching is a lot like managing. Now I'm going to put this list back up there to help you. But I'll give you 3 or 4 minutes. Talk with a partner or talk with groups of 3. Okay?
Get away from
familiarizing yourself with Adler. Oh, so if you hire teachers, they have to know the curriculum. So that's different, you know, all
We wanted to pause.
Well, my
All right.
son wants to go to
To borrow a phrase from Marla, I'm detecting a bit of a lull. Actually, that was a really engaged conversation, and I think that's kind of what was going on in my head when I talked myself into applying to my position. Who here feels a little bit better if they were to see this in a job application about maybe applying to that job? A little more confident, maybe? I know that I do. So, keep that in your head, the conversations you just had. We're going to think about managerial skills and teaching skills. And again, with your partners, what I'd like to do is have this half of the room think up specific skills that you attribute to teachers, hopefully good teachers, and specific skills for managers. Just thinking about managers, what makes a good manager, what makes a good teacher, what are those skills that you expect them to have. So I'll pass these back. You can take more than one. Jot down that skill. You can talk to your partner about it if you'd like. And can I come up and put those on the board for me? Under manager or teacher. Did I get those back? You can take one or two, and if you think of more, grab another one. Bring it up to the board. I'm looking to populate the board with a lot of ideas.
Yeah, are we supposed to talk to each other first?
Like that's.
This is weird. I mean, I don't think it's just probably. Observation.
Yeah.
Or we could. Oh, you have a bunch of skills.
Yeah, teachers need to be more flexible.
Stick them on the board.
But I'm gonna write that as a teacher's skill. Yeah. Right. I like to negotiate for content. What did you hear? Tell me again. I don't know what the word is.
Encourage her to just be adamant about it. Say, if I don't know about something, she has to go through it. She said, ask, you don't feel like you're like you still have to teach different skills, and that is really
Just thinking now.
for some of them.
And hope experience. Thank you. That my boss is a therapist. Really, it's just a whole other
Did everyone have a chance to put something on the board? Somebody still thinking?
And for you to be able to say that's your stuff, that's really hard. It's different. I think it's a release or comfort to the students to hear that.
Thanks, guys. All right, I'm just going to, for the sake of time, I'm just going to read off some of these and kind of think about what are some of the common skills, what kind of fall in the middle, what are very clear skills that we can do in both of these roles. But managers are supposed to be encouraging, state clear goals, be a visionary, delegate tasks, active listening, good communicator, that's good. Again, active listening. Try to see the situation from a win-win perspective. Okay, delegates, creative problem solver, set tone for everyone in respect to management, identifying cuts and convincing everyone. Okay. And then over here on the teacher side, adaptability, listening skills, confidence. Organizational skills, I feel like that one could go in the middle pretty easily. Clarity, empathy, or compassion, we're going to talk about that. Understanding different learning styles. Understanding group dynamics, subject area knowledge. This is great. We're going to leave this on the board. And we're going to hear from a couple different people. So I interviewed 4 different people, and we're going to hear from all of them. This is Sarah Bogdevich. She's the coordinator for the Academic Support Services at Nova. That's my division. She's my boss. And Emily Miller's my coworker. She's the Reading and Writing Center supervisor. So I run the Language Center. She runs the Reading and Writing Center across the hall. We work pretty closely together because a lot of the students that we service will bounce between the 2 centers, depending on their level. I love that picture, Emily. And of course, I went ahead and interviewed Jamie. So Jamie, this is my Jamie. She's the coordinator for SIT. And Mary Kay, I also got in touch with Mary Kay over in admissions, and she's my Mary Kay. So we're going to hear from all 4 of these people today. And a lot of them said similar things, so you're going to start to see where people have the same ideas about managing and teaching. Challenges. Let's hear about challenges first. It's me facing many challenges. And here I got to turn to this. So we're just going to listen to a few clips, okay?
The academic calendar is very different from the business calendar. So managers, education is a business, and managers fall more into the business side of education. And so you just kind of wrap your head around things like the fiscal calendar, which is, July 1 to June 30th here for us in Virginia. And it's more about following that schedule rather than August through December, So again, as classroom teachers, you're sort of left to your own to develop your course. You can do your planning anywhere, you can do your grading anywhere. You really only have a couple deadlines, which is your grades are due on this day and they must be posted in the system on this day. The rest is kind of up to you. And that's a lot of freedom. As a manager though, there's much tighter deadlines and there are much more deadlines throughout the year, there are many more deadlines throughout the year that you have to pay attention to. So now, not only do I think about the academic calendar, but at the same time, I have to know the fiscal calendar, I have to know when grants are due, I have to know when pay periods are ending. So there's many more and very important dates that are floating around in my head. So my time has to be managed very carefully.
I didn't have a chance to really provide too much background on some of these people I interviewed, but all of them were teachers at one point. Sarah, in particular, she did teach ESL. She has a master's in ESL. She taught in Korea, so she was a very good source for that experience because she's been in this role for almost 4 years now. So a lot of what she's learned on the job. And she went on to say that I have to be at my desk from 8 to 5. I don't get the flexibility of doing stuff from home or doing things throughout the semester. It's a weekly thing, it's a daily thing, it's a monthly thing. And that can be a bit of a challenge. It was a challenge for me because I liked looking at when I was a teacher, I am a teacher, but when I was teaching more or less full time, I had this whole semester and I could do work at midnight if I had to or if I wanted to. But no, I'm expected to be at my desk at 8 and I'm expected to have things ready by 9 if we have a meeting. And then there's things that are expected to be on Sarah's desk by the end of the day or by the end of the week or by the end of the next month. And I really have to budget my time a lot differently than I used to. Mary Kay had a few things to say about organizational skills and having a tougher skin. And I forgot to ask Mary Kay how long she's been in her position, but she's been here a while, has she not? Yeah. Oh, sorry. There it is.
Even if it's in admissions of in a community college, you still have to have really strong organizational skills. And again, if there's that group of teachers or if that person's coming from a more creative side, having that 2 sides of the brain of, okay, where's my to-do list today? How do I make sure that all of these things get done, or is the work schedule done? Am I any good at hiring staff? What does a job description look like? Writing that up. How much money have we got in order to spend? What are the budgets? How much financing piece do I have to do? So within that organization skills, depending on the job, they may be able to organize potentially a lesson plan, but that's not always a given. They might be able to organize or not. They're 50 minutes or 60 minutes, but I don't know that teachers can automatically do the organization of the school that needs to be done and all those various pieces. So shifting that from one to the other.
Yeah, it's a very different kind of organization. I mean, I think who here feels that they're a very disorganized teacher, but still do a very good job? I'm in that category. I can be very disorganized, but who's seen a disorganized manager and can they really pull that off the same way teachers can? I've worked for disorganized managers. I've tried very hard not to be one, and it is a bit of a challenge.
In a managerial role, you have to have a bit of a tougher skin because people will blame up. You know, it's always the manager's fault, it's the school's fault. So how do you not take that personally? And I think that's a part of being a manager anywhere. It's kind of like, if we're going to badmouth somebody, it might be the manager. And then just, this whole idea of, when I said shifting from manager of learners to managers of peers, how do you give feedback to somebody who may have been your colleague recently, and now you're saying, you've just observed their lessons, or that validity piece of, I've been known as a teacher, and now I'm being known as an expert or a leader of sorts. How do you make that shift, that transition?
For those of you that know me, I really like people to get along, and I'm a bit sensitive. And to be sensitive to other people's feelings. So within this last year, I have had to let people I've hired go. And it's hard. It's hard to kind of unlearn that kind of sympathy that I have for my students or my colleagues when I'm teaching. So I think that's kind of what she's talking about. Like some people can do it. Some people it's really hard to get over that. And another way I kind of relate to what Mary Kay had to say. Emily and I were colleagues before. We actually worked for Rosetta Stone together, and it was all fun and really great to get together with Emily. And now we're kind of both managing. What if one of us gets a promotion? What if I end up being above Emily? Am I going to be able to turn that off, that kind of friendship we have? We can still be friends, but how do I put on the manager hat? It's really hard. So Emily and Mary Kay are going to talk about student relationships versus employee-colleague relationships, which is what Mary Kay kind of just touched on, and the classroom versus the office.
My relationship with my employees is different than my relationship is with my students. And one thing I have to remind myself is that whereas I feel very responsible for the structuring and the scaffolding of learning experiences, and while I enjoy bringing that into the center, the employees are expected to be able to execute required tasks, and I have to remember to be a manager of employees versus solely an instructor of individuals. Like I can't teach them their jobs in an ongoing sense outside of training.
And I think she was struggling to come up with what she was trying to say, but I understand it, and maybe I can clarify. I want to continue to help my students, keep helping them do their best and get the best possible grade, for instance, that they can get. But there's kind of a line I got to draw with staff. If it's just not working out, and I've given you all the training I can, and still you're not really hitting that benchmark that I'm expecting of you, I would have to let you go and try and bring somebody new in. And I've had to do that, unfortunately.
How do you give feedback to somebody who may have been your colleague recently, and now you're saying you've just observed lessons, or that validity piece of, I've been known as a teacher, and now I'm being known as an expert or a leader of sorts. How do you make that shift, that transition? So again, we're going to the challenging, your empathy and compassion that you had for your learners. How do you shift that over to your teachers and not default to maybe an authoritarian leadership style, and really teaching yourself about how to be a leader and all the different, you have to get some outside support, I think, because it's not intuitive to be a leader and know different leadership styles in the role of a manager of a school as it is being in the classroom. I think it's a very different thing.
I would agree. That leadership that I kind of promote in the classroom versus in the office, it is a little different. Hold on to that thought. We're going to come back to it toward the end of the lecture, and we're going to talk about leadership in the classroom, leadership in the office a little bit. This is probably the last one. We're going to move on to some of the benefits. But in case you haven't noticed, what we've started to really look at in this challenges section is the kinds of challenges I did not anticipate. And this was a big one.
As an instructor, you're really siloed in the classroom. So you've got these couple sections of ESL, 101 or 102, and you're at home or you're in your office lesson planning, you go into the classroom, you go back to your office or home to grade, and then that cycle continues itself. So you're really divorced from a lot of the other departments on campus, and therefore you're divorced from some of the politics of the institution. Whereas in a management role, like I am in now, I'm thrown into that world of politics. And that navigation and the realization of those relationships that have to deal with political arrangements, whether they're spoken or unspoken, was all very new to me.
To kind of continue with what she was saying, I think you're as divorced as you want to be. There are teachers that are very collaborative and they work with the departments that they're at their school and stuff like that. Keep in mind she's speaking from the perspective of a woman who was teaching in Korea. And I think she was divorced from things even if she didn't want to be. But it happens. I think a lot of us teach overseas and stuff, and you can see where she's coming from. And she felt like she was very much on her own, and then now she's in this role as a manager where she has to work together with all those different departments. And Jamie...
I mean, I don't need to be diplomatic when I'm a teacher, but in managerial or coordinated education position, the skill of diplomacy is very useful.
And I don't know if I necessarily had that skill, or at least I hadn't developed it very well. And if it's getting a little cold, I'll turn this off. But I have learned a lot about it since I started my job a year ago. I do try to avoid these office politics, but sometimes they're unavoidable. Oh, one more. Budgets.
That I had no formal training around budgets or budget management.
Right.
And you don't get that in an ESL graduate program. You don't get that in any kind of teacher training program. You get that from a management program. It's not difficult to learn, and I think that, given a fiscal year to see how that plays out and shakes out, you can learn, but it's something that intimidated me coming into management.
Who here is good at using Excel spreadsheets? A couple of you? Okay. Well, I wasn't. And Sarah did. She handed me a budget. She said, okay, hire employees, make sure you don't run out of money. And Excel. How do I manipulate Excel? And I have learned a lot, but you don't think about that. You don't think about that. I certainly did when I applied for this job. But budgets, no, somebody else will take care of that, just like they did at my school. Okay, benefits. This is actually me at the college. This is our language learning lab, in case you're wondering. So we're going to hear from the same 4 people, maybe not Jane, but we're going to hear from the other 3. And they're going to talk about some of the things that were unexpected for them, but turned out to be very good.
So I think we're really, really good at noticing strengths and weaknesses in others, and then devising teams that are really well put together based on that. So whether you have a team of people that are all strong in one area working together on something, or you have a team where you have staggered skill levels, that produces really quality projects when you're managing a team. And I think that's really a trait that teachers are good at, being able to notice strengths in people and then put people together in a strategic way.
Your ability to be open and your knowledge of different cultures may help you also really relate to your employees as on individuals, and to be able to really kind of identify their strengths so that they can really support you, allowing you to utilize them for their particular strengths and grow their strengths so that you can focus on management jobs. I think
I've gotten surprisingly good at this, and I think it's because I worked so long in classrooms figuring out which students were strong, pairing them with the weaker students, encouraging them in the areas they needed to work in, helping them better their skill sets and stuff. And I find that I'm good at it in the tutoring center. When it comes to hiring people, I can see, okay, you're good at grammar, I'm going to put you with Mike, who's pretty good at speaking, and I need you guys to work together so we can have a more well-rounded staff here, so I don't have to think about who I'm going to put this student with. I can put them with any of you. And I shadow them, and we get together in groups, and we put together professional development workshops and trained everybody up on specific skill sets that I know that all of them need. It's turned out to be a really handy skill to have.
Holding your learners accountable, that skill set of, okay, home or whatever you decide, and how you get them to take accountability for themselves, or this, tapping into their own motivation. How do you do that for your teachers? What if they're not showing up on time? What if they're not supporting the learners in achieving their own aims? What if they are phoning it in, so to speak? How do you hold your teachers accountable? And I think that there are ways to put that in place, just like you talked to, kind of being a lot more transparent and open with your learners, and maybe having them talk about how much homework they want to do, or this or that. I think having very frank conversations with your teachers and setting up, okay, how do we all want to work with one another? Okay, setting up those norms, so to speak, at the beginning, so that they're all buying in. They're all setting up, well, if I'm 10 minutes late because I've got this issue, I'd love to be able to call on somebody. Okay, what do you guys all think about that? And then creating a group set of accountability, as opposed to, oh gosh, it's Brian again, he's late, I'm gonna kill him, and then they moan to you, and then you moan to somebody else, as opposed to, wait, hey, we've all spoken about this, and we all know ourselves well enough to say this might be an issue for me, or I'm living way over there, or how can we support one another?
Is that a skill maybe that teachers turned managers may have acquired just from their experience with collaborating with students?
I think so. I think that if you've got a collaborative class.
The democratic kind of class.
Yeah. Okay. I think, and making learners a little bit more a part of their, they're finding the motivation to be there. They're a part of their own learning process, and making them own some of that. It's making them own their working process.
I've seen this from both sides of the coin. As Sarah is my boss, she actually promotes this sense of team, this feeling that we're all on the same team. She encourages us to attend conferences and go to workshops and improve. And I do the same thing with the tutors. And I think the person who held my position before me, she'd been there for about 7 or 8 years, she was very much a dictator. She told the tutors what to do. And I've been trying, and I think succeeding, in getting everybody to understand that we're in this together. And when we designed our professional development workshop, I got feedback from all of them about what they wanted it to be, what they wanted to get out of it. And that's, and I think that holding my tutors accountable for their own education and getting them to turn to me as a resource, just as much as I am their superior. It seems to be working out. It's changed the whole atmosphere of the center.
So when I sit down and I counsel staff, I tend to focus on strengths rather than weaknesses, because that produces a better staff member. Just like with a student, if you mark up their whole paper in red and only focus on the things that they did wrong, it's not going to create a positive learning environment. And I think that same thing can be true for staff members. So I think mentorship and giving feedback is two good qualities that a teacher going into a management role naturally has from their training as teachers. The other thing I think teachers are really good at that helps them in management roles is that we're very reflective people. So we reflect a lot, not only on the progress of our students, but we often, in the classroom, critique our own pedagogy, our own teaching, and then we reflect, and then we change for the next semester. And I think that's a really great management skill. Some managers I know aren't that reflective, and it ends in either making the same problems happen all over again, or there's never any change, it's always kind of status quo. But I think having that reflective nature, being able to sit back and say, yeah, this worked well, or this was kind of challenging, I'm going to do it a little different next time, I think is a really good quality in teachers that become managers.
And I do ask of my tutors to provide me with feedback so I can adapt and change the way that I'm running the center. And we've already made a couple changes since then. But Sarah does it as well. I think there's been a lot of changes since she's taken over. And I really think it's great that we're all, we've got this two levels of teacher experience, hers and then mine. It seems to be working out really well. I think we've got one or two more clips and then we're gonna move on. But
teachers are used to being very mission-driven or very goal-driven. So at the beginning of the semester when we're planning our class, we've got our goals and objectives, right? And everything we do throughout that semester relates to those goals and objectives. And I think as managers, especially very good strategic managers, hone in on that skill, setting goals and objectives for everything they do, and then putting teams together to carry those out. And I think that comes from learning how to lesson plan and learning how to plan curriculum. As a trait that we share. So that's what I have to say about the positives and challenges of ESL teachers in management positions.
thanks, Sarah. Sarah was a really great resource, I think. I like that. I can't do it. She was a great resource, and she touched on a lot of things that I hadn't articulated before getting into the position I was in. And it's a lot clearer. So, thinking about that, how many people actually, I meant to ask, how many people are actually considering themselves managers more than teachers right now? A couple of you? Okay. However, for those of you that are not in a management role, I'd like you to talk to a partner, maybe person next to you, or groups of three. Try not, if you're a manager, try to be in a group with other teachers, so to speak, full-time teachers. What you're taking from this lecture, how do you think you can apply some of those things that these four people talked about, including myself, what you've learned from this? So I'll give you about 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
I should probably do a lot more.
I won't touch politics.
Well, you know, in some places it's just not a safe thing. I try to manage in a way that they want to do their jobs, that they're motivated to do their job and they do well, so that I don't have to a few times that I've had things like having or make mistakes, I can realize that you know, I need to drop the ball and go back for me. You know, and then I didn't have that, but get ready to release. Just to set it on the table. I need a way that you can I was doing different trainings. I hesitate all the time. I'm not trying to perfect my job. I love working with kids. That person had to wake up at 3 a.m. So I think because you must kind of worked up to the idea. So that's the I am a manager for an online ESL company. I'm running classes 24/7. So if something goes wrong, at times people are having to wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning to fix issues. And then it's just like, you know, it's not just you, you're affecting this person, you're making them and their life or something, you know?
But are you even living in like part of the world? That person like
No, it's an online company. I work with
That's hard.
Just make communication between all of you.
Email and I meet weekly with my team on Skype. So it's a lot of Skype meetings.
Some actual face-to-face. I'm just wondering if you communicate in writing with teachers or also face-to-face. That'd be slightly different dynamics too.
In person, like this face-to-face, yeah, Skype video, yeah, right? Usually we don't do video, but I share. So yeah, and we can ask them to do it. It's a little more challenging because you don't have.
I always thought that was just the only door you should have these
Stuff to kind of build that.
It never
You really have to work that, to build that relationship online. Possibly if you've never met, and maybe never really knew. A lot of people on my team are that. There's so many things. I was like trying to.
and it's like I said, no to that something happened was real.
Know that they offer
That was the word. And then you get
All right, guys, great. I hate to break up good conversation, but I think we'll stop there because I do want to talk about one or two more things. All right, guys? I hate to stop good conversation. I think everyone's actually sharing some pretty good ideas. The reason I asked that question, the reason I had you discuss is one of the sources I turned to when I put this lecture together was this article that I read that looked at teaching as a form of management. And this quote stuck out to me. As a manager of the classroom. The teacher has several roles which can be noticed in comparison with the general activities of an actual manager, which can be transposed in specific management tasks. And they kind of mention a few of these, and they sound very vague, but forecast planning, organization, which you guys put on the board, control, evaluation, which I think speaks to Mary Kay's feedback and the feedback she talked about good managers being able to do, about consulting and decision making. So, although this workshop was really from the perspective of, okay, so if you wind up being a manager, this is what you can do. I do think there's a lot here that you can do as a teacher that will improve your teaching if you look at it from the perspective of managing a little bit. Because I think we do manage classrooms. We're very much managers of classrooms, just like we are managers of employees. And I do want to mention, there it is. There's a lot of books out there, there's a lot of resources on how to be a good manager. There's not too much that I could find on how to be a good teacher manager, except for this book, which of course was recommended to me, and it is actually the book that goes to a course that SIT does sometimes offer, and it's offered in other parts of the world as well. It's an 8-month course.
It's 2 weeks, I did this course, it's 2 weeks face-to-face. I did mine face-to-face in Barcelona, and then it's 8 months online. There are 8 different modules, and each module takes a month.
And I just want to bring your attention to these modules were more or less, in some cases, exactly what's in my job description. And you can see them here: organizational management, managing financial resources, budgeting, human resource management, marketing, I market the center, client customer service, of course that's what I do, and academic management, and 2 other modules that we developed if you take the course. I didn't have the privilege of taking this course before moving into this role, but the book is a pretty good resource. I enjoyed flipping through it, and I just want to bring this to your attention that it's not a completely original idea, that what I'm talking about here, but there's a lot more you can learn about it, a lot more you can do in a 1-hour workshop. And these are those 2 sources. Teachers Manager Roles is the article that I read, and of course this textbook here. And if you guys want to take a look at it, I do have it. Feedback. This is a good time for feedback. I think we're right on time. I'll hand out some Index cards, I'd love to get your feedback on a couple different questions, please. Specifically, what do you think was missing from this lecture? I may do it again someday. I'd like to know how I can improve it. Was there anything you were surprised to learn? And if you guys have time, what's a really good girl name? Because my wife got a girl. I can't think of her name, so that's some recommendations. These are the important questions. And of course, in these remaining minutes, if you do have any questions for me.
Are there any books about managing teachers, but not having already been a manager? I mean, not having already been a teacher. So that was teachers
Right,
still.
so if you
Is
want-
there like a manager of teachers?
You may want to talk to Mary Kay because that's what she does. Or, quite frankly, anybody else. Susan, I think would be a good resource.
I have some books downstairs. You want to come in?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more. I didn't look into that, but that's a good question. Managing teachers. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Feel free to email me too if you have any questions or anything, or some time down the road you do wind up in